Imagine stepping onto your porch, heart pounding with excitement, ready to grab that precious package you've been tracking for weeks. It's supposed to be there. Proof of delivery confirms it, but the porch is barren. No box in sight. You feel that gut punch of confusion and dread, like someone just snatched away a gift you've been dying to open. Then you check your home security footage. And who do you see strolling up to your door, snatching your mail without a second's hesitation? Karen Christian, president of the Silver Lake Estate HOA. She's got that smug look you've seen before, the one that practically screams, "I can do whatever I want." And for too long, she's gotten away with it. But not this time. My name is Howard, and I decided enough was enough. I refused to let another petty, self-important bully ruin my peace, especially when she committed an actual crime, mail theft. What I uncovered next would blow this entire neighborhood apart, revealing layers of corruption, hidden agendas, and secrets that not even Karen's own allies saw coming. Trust me, you don't want to miss how this showdown ends, because sometimes the underdog wins big. Before we dive into the twists and turns of this wild story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. If you love tales of petty tyrants, shocking HOAs, and sweet revenge, you're in for one heck of a ride. Please comment where you're watching from, as it means a whole lot to us, and share with your friends if you enjoy the drama. The moment my phone buzzed with the delivered notification, my heart skipped a beat. I had been waiting forever for these special woodworking tools, saving up, reading reviews, and dreaming about the projects I'd create. I was so excited that I dropped everything and drove home like my life depended on it. As soon as I pulled up to my driveway, I felt a rush of anticipation. I practically ran to my front door, expecting to see my beautiful new package waiting for me. Instead, my porch was empty. All I saw was my worn-out welcome mat. My heart sank. I circled the house, hoping the driver had left it behind a bush or somewhere hidden. No luck. At first, I tried to stay calm. Maybe the driver marked it delivered early, or maybe my neighbors took it inside for safekeeping. But as I kept searching, that calm feeling vanished. My stomach started twisting in knots. I had put so much time and money into these tools. The thought of them being gone filled me with a mix of panic and anger. Standing on my porch, I felt this awful surge of helplessness. These tools weren't just random items I bought. They were a big step for my woodworking hobby. Losing them felt like someone stealing my future projects, my creative outlet, and my hard-earned money all at once. That sense of loss cut deeper with every passing second. Then I remembered I had a security camera. I practically lunged for my phone, scrambling to open the app. If anyone had stolen my package, I'd see them on video. Part of me expected a mysterious stranger, maybe someone wearing a hoodie, sneaking up in the middle of the night. What I actually saw made my jaw drop. Right there, as clear as day, was Karen Christian, our HOA president, walking straight up to my doorstep. She didn't even hesitate. She grabbed my package like it was hers and strolled off, head held high. I played the footage back 3 times, each time feeling my anger flare up more. It wasn't some mix-up. She knew what she was doing. My mind spiraled. Why would Karen do this? Was she stealing from others too? How long had she been getting away with it? My heart pounded so hard I could barely think. All the safety perks we paid for in this neighborhood suddenly felt like a bad joke. It seemed like the person meant to protect us was the one robbing us. I clenched my phone so tightly I thought it might crack. Seeing Karen's smug expression triggered a fierce need for justice. She was supposed to uphold the rules, not break them. I thought about all the times she sent out nasty HOA letters for small things, grass an inch too high, a mailbox that wasn't approved. Meanwhile, she felt free to take my property? In that moment, my fear melted away, replaced by determination. I couldn't just let this slide. I didn't care that she was powerful within Silver Lake Estate. I was done being bullied by her fake authority. The tools were important, but now it was about so much more. Exposing her lies and making sure she paid for what she did. Little did I know confronting Karen about a stolen package was just the beginning. This single act would unravel a whole web of secrets and corruption she'd built over the years. But one thing was certain. After seeing her take my stuff on camera, there was no way I'd back down. Karen Christian was about to learn that she messed with the wrong guy. I marched up to Karen Christian's spotless two-story house, my heart pounding like a war drum. The sun was just beginning to set over Silver Lake Estate, painting the sky in angry shades of orange. My fists clenched at my sides. I couldn't believe I was about to accuse the almighty HOA president of stealing. But the video footage didn't lie, and my gut roiled with anger as I thought about how she'd treated my property like a cheap toy. I reminded myself, this time, she wasn't getting off easily. The driveway radiated perfection. Her elegant rose bushes looked so meticulously pruned that it was almost eerie, as though any stray leaf would be fined or banished on the spot. I thought back to the times she'd fined my neighbors for unapproved flowers or non-regulation hedges. Yet here she was, enjoying a floral wonderland that no one else could replicate without risking her wrath. An unfair double standard, no doubt. It fueled my courage to confront the iron-fisted ruler of this upscale community. Karen swung the front door open with a flourish and stood there with a withering gaze. She folded her arms across her neatly pressed blouse, tapping a foot in obvious impatience. "Howard, what a surprise!" she drawled, dripping sarcasm with each syllable. Her eyes flicked up and down as if appraising my every flaw. Rumpled shirt, sweat from my tense walk, maybe even the determination etched on my face. In that moment, I felt like she saw me as a bug she'd happily squash under her designer heels. "I have video of you stealing my package, Karen," I said, my breath catching in my throat. My voice trembled with a mixture of outrage and the lingering fear I had of her authority. She had the power to issue fines and threaten lawsuits, and she rarely hesitated to do so. Yet the rage coursing through me was too strong to ignore. I held my phone up, ready to hit play if she dared deny what I saw with my own eyes. Karen barely blinked, a small sneer tugging at the corner of her mouth. "Oh, that box you left out like a homeless donation bin?" she said with a dismissive snort. "I was keeping it safe, Howard. It's irresponsible to leave things lying around. As your HOA president, I have to maintain order." Her tone was laced with mock concern, but her eyes sparkled with cruel delight. It was as if she enjoyed twisting the knife, reminding me that she was in control. My blood felt like it was boiling. "Cut the nonsense," I snapped, trying to keep my voice steady. "We both know you didn't do this to protect anything. You took my property, and that's mail theft. Hand it over now." I tried to steady my breathing, pushing away the image of all those times Karen had dished out warnings and fines. If I let my fear slip back in, I might never stand up to her again. Karen took a single lazy step back, arms still folded like a fortress across her chest. My, aren't we brave all of a sudden?" She gave an exaggerated roll of her eyes. "You're such a fool, Howard. That package has already been processed under our guidelines. And honestly, it wasn't worth much anyway. Looked like cheap junk," she sneered, batting her eyelashes in mock innocence. My heart lurched at her tone. Cheap junk? She was belittling me, my possessions, and my intelligence, all in one fell swoop. Determined not to cower, I squared my shoulders. "You and I both know there are no HOA guidelines about snatching private mail. You made that up to justify being a power-hungry control freak. If I don't see my package on my porch by tomorrow, I'm calling the police." A faint tremor laced my words, but I stood firm, letting her see I wasn't backing down this time. Karen's lips twisted into a smug grin that made my stomach turn. "Oh, Howard, dear, run to the cops all you like," she spat, her voice brimming with scorn. "Just remember who I am, the elected HOA president. This neighborhood respects me, and I have no problem spreading word about how reckless and irresponsible you are. If you think some silly video can stand up to my reputation, go right ahead. I'll be waiting." The arrogance in her tone practically dared me to test her supposed invincibility. I could feel my pulse roaring in my ears, my knuckles white from clenching my fists. The memory of her lifting my package off the ground, of her smug, unrepentant face, burned a hole in my gut. My voice steady, I declared, "You may love being a tyrant, Karen, but I promise you this, you're not above the law. Tomorrow I get my package back, or you'll be explaining yourself to more than just me." Though fear coiled in my stomach, I felt a wave of clarity. This was a battle I'd fight with everything I had, no matter how many insults she hurled my way. I wasn't the only one fed up. My neighbors had stories, late-night citations on their doors, random fines for supposed violations, even threats of foreclosure for minuscule offenses. Karen Christian had preyed on the timid for years. I reached out to a neighbor who'd had enough too, Timothy, a tech-savvy guy who'd locked horns with Karen over some nonsense about unapproved shutters. He had actually installed an entire surveillance system after Karen threatened to fine him daily for them. Timothy told me there were rumors of dozens of stolen packages stored in some compliance office. Compliance office? I repeated, baffled. You mean that old storage shed near the clubhouse? Timothy nodded. From what I hear, that's where she's hoarding them. She claims it's standard practice to hold on to suspicious packages. The more we dug, the more twisted it got. We discovered neighbors who'd never received critical medications, others who were missing expensive items they assumed were delivered. We formed a small group, Timothy, Daphne, a longtime resident who had a stack of questionable finds, and Arlene, a no-nonsense retiree determined to see justice served. With phone cameras, screenshots, and testimonies, we compiled enough evidence to choke a horse. If Karen thought we'd back down quietly, she had another thing coming. One day, Arlene grabbed the spare key to that infamous storage shed. We decided to check it out in broad daylight, half expecting Karen to jump out screeching. But she was nowhere to be found. We opened the padlock and stared in astonishment. Piles of packages from online retailers, some half-opened, others rummaged through. The scope of her operation was staggering. Right then and there we knew this wasn't just mail theft. This was a mail theft empire. It was time to stop playing nice. We handed over all the footage and documents to the local police. They were stunned at how brazen Karen was. Neighbors, outraged and emboldened, came forward in droves to share their stories. When the cops showed up at her door, Karen Christian spun a wild story. I'm the HOA president. These people are lying, forging evidence, out to get me. She even claimed she was storing these packages for the greater good, labeling it a standard policy. But the officers weren't having it. They had footage of her physically taking my package. They'd seen the shed brimming with stolen goods. In a moment that felt almost surreal, the officers slapped the cuffs on her. She screamed about her rights, threatened to have the entire precinct fired, and babbled about how no judge will convict me. Yet there she was, stuffed into the back of a patrol car. As I stood on the sidewalk watching Karen lose her mind, Timothy tapped me on the shoulder. Dude, check this out. On his phone was a string of suspicious transactions, apparently connected to the HOA's bank account. Karen Christian had been paying for personal vacations, spa treatments, and more, using HOA funds. This wasn't just mail theft anymore, it was outright embezzlement. You'd think the story ends with Karen's arrest, right? Nope, it got darker. We soon discovered Karen had a small circle of HOA enforcers, people who spied on residents, wrote up phony violation notices and pocketed bribes. They were still free. A week after Karen was taken away, a wave of vandalism hit the neighborhood. Car windows smashed, mailboxes pried open. At first we thought it was random, but then Arlene found a cryptic note pinned to her door. Quit messing with things you don't understand. Timothy installed extra cameras around his property, and guess who we caught creeping at 2 a.m.? Gloria, Karen's closest confidant on the HOA board. She'd been rummaging through mailboxes. We had her on camera, big as day, rifling through letters. It turned out Karen had directed her from jail to find any sensitive evidence that could further incriminate them. We decided to set a trap. Timothy ordered a fake package labeled with flashy stickers like high-value electronics, and inside was a simple GPS tracker. We also hid a micro camera inside. Late one night, Gloria snatched it from Timothy's porch. Busted. The police stepped in again, this time scooping Gloria up. With Gloria arrested, the entire shady network Karen had built started crumbling for good. The courthouse was so crowded that people spilled into the hallways, all eager to witness Karen Christian's trial. This wasn't just a local curiosity, it had become a county-wide spectacle. News vans were parked outside, neighbors huddled in groups, and camera phones flashed every few seconds. It felt like everyone who had ever been wronged by Karen wanted to be part of this moment. to see if justice would finally wipe that smug grin off her face. Inside, the tension was electric. You could almost taste the anticipation in the air, the desire for closure, the longing for accountability. Karen stood at the defense table, her posture rigid, her eyes shooting daggers at anyone who dared look her way. There was no remorse in her gaze, just a fierce, arrogant defiance. It was as though she still believed she ran the show, even there in a court of law. When the prosecution began its opening statement, the entire room fell silent. The prosecutor introduced 3 major charges: mail theft, fraud, and embezzlement. For the jury's benefit and for all those watching, the prosecutor broke down these legal terms into simple language. Mail theft was stealing or interfering with someone else's mail, an offense taken very seriously by federal law. Fraud covered the deliberate deception Karen used to gain money, like tricking homeowners into paying bogus fines. Embezzlement meant she misused HOA funds for her own gain, treating community money like her personal checking account. Each explanation hit the crowd like a fresh wave of outrage. Karen immediately interrupted the prosecutor, shouting that these were outrageous lies. Her lawyer tried to quiet her, but she refused to let anyone else have the last word. She hurled insults at the prosecutor, calling him a pathetic pencil pusher, and sneered at the neighbors in the gallery, labeling them sheep who couldn't think for themselves. The judge had to bang the gavel twice just to restore order. It was clear Karen wasn't going to tone down her entitled attitude even under oath. One by one, witnesses took the stand to share their personal horror stories. A mom spoke through tears about how her child's asthma medication never arrived, forcing an emergency hospital visit. A retired couple revealed receipts for fines they could never explain, fines that totaled hundreds of dollars for so-called landscaping violations that didn't even exist. Another neighbor described watching security footage of Karen brazenly grabbing packages off porches. Each testimony felt like a gut punch, exposing how deeply Karen's actions had hurt real people. As this avalanche of evidence piled up, Karen glared at each witness, sometimes muttering under her breath. On more than one occasion, she shouted from her seat, "You're all liars!" or "They're exaggerating." Some in the audience gasped at her blatant lack of respect. The judge had to threaten contempt of court if she didn't remain quiet. Still, Karen acted as though she was the one being wronged, her eyes flashing with indignation every time someone told the truth about her. Then came the highlight of the prosecution's case, the spreadsheet of HOA funds that showed a clear pattern of misuse. There were suspicious hotel charges, spa treatments, first-class airfare, all paid for with money meant to maintain the community. The prosecutor even presented pictures from Karen's social media accounts, showcasing luxurious vacations she took while claiming the HOA budget was too tight for basic repairs. The tension in the room skyrocketed. It was like the final puzzle piece clicked into place, revealing just how greedy she had become. At this point, Karen's lawyer attempted a desperate strategy. They called an expert in community management who claimed that Karen suffered from extreme mental distress due to the pressures of overseeing a large neighborhood. The expert suggested that Karen's actions might have been unintentional oversights caused by burnout. A hush fell over the crowd. Could Karen actually dodge responsibility by painting herself as a tragic figure overwhelmed by stress? It didn't last. The prosecution immediately countered with a series of leaked emails Karen had written to her inner circle. In these messages, she bragged about her side hustle of snatching valuable items and even called her neighbors too stupid to notice. Those words made everyone in the courtroom bristle. Sympathy drained away the moment they realized Karen wasn't just misguided. She was purposely exploiting people she saw as beneath her. Karen's reaction to these emails being read aloud was explosive. She stood up, pointing wildly at the prosecutor, calling him a slimeball, and branding the judge biased. The bailiff had to step between her and the prosecution to prevent further disruption. If there had been any lingering doubt about her character, her tantrum wiped it out. After that meltdown, the defense had no more tricks up their sleeve. They looked exhausted. The jury's faces were stone cold, clearly unimpressed by Karen's theatrics. When the judge sent the jury to deliberate, the atmosphere was almost unbearable. The wait wasn't long. In less than 3 hours, the jury returned. Their spokesperson announced they had found Karen Christian guilty on all major counts: mail theft, fraud, and embezzlement. The moment the judge declared she was officially barred from returning to Silver Lake Estate, a wave of approval rippled through the spectators. Finally, the community had its victory. Because of certain legal technicalities, like her lack of a prior criminal record, Karen narrowly avoided a long prison sentence. However, she was slapped with massive fines, ordered to pay restitution to the homeowners she cheated, and ended up with a federal conviction on her record. In the world of HOA leadership, a criminal record like that is the kiss of death. She would never again hold a position of authority, which was a balm to everyone she'd tormented. With Karen gone and her corrupt allies dismantled, the new HOA leadership took over. Gone were the days of petty fines and false citations. People finally felt free to decorate their homes, have barbecues without fear of random noise violation fees, and accept deliveries without them mysteriously vanishing. Those who'd been unfairly fined or had property confiscated were given refunds. An independent auditor tracked the missing HOA funds, and it turned out Karen's operation went even deeper than we suspected. She'd siphoned tens of thousands of dollars for her personal lifestyle. The new board implemented sweeping reforms to ensure no single individual could ever wield that kind of unchecked power again. Just when I thought it was all over, I received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a letter with shaky handwriting. "You may have won this round, Howard, but you'll regret crossing me. I always come back." No signature, but it didn't take a detective to figure out who wrote it. Karen Christian might be locked away from our neighborhood, but she was still out there, nursing her grievances. Thank you for joining me on this roller coaster of drama, mail theft, and sweet, sweet revenge. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with friends who need a reminder that bullies can and should be taken down. Have a wild HOA tale of your own? Drop it in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going and empower more people to stand up against petty tyrants like Karen Christian.